All right, so what we have here are the setup for the granola bars I'm gonna be making. I'm actually gonna be doing things a little bit different using a cupcake pan, but yeah, still gonna be granola bars. Glass bowl, a measuring cup, that's 1 cup, 1/4, and a tablespoon measuring, then a glass measuring for liquids. Then we got our good soap, brown sugar, cinnamon, honey, vanilla, and oil. The oil could be whatever is of your choosing. And here we have our ingredients. We got dark chocolate, chocolate chips. We got pecans, cranberries, sunflower seeds, walnuts, coconut flakes, almonds, pistachio, and these are some raisins, the last of them, just gonna use them, and pumpkin seeds. You don't have to use this much stuff in your granola. I just like to go OD because abundance is joy. Yeah, at least for me, when it comes to granola, having an abundance of items in it is joyful. So yeah, that's everything that's gonna be going in. But of course, you can choose whatever is your fancy, whether it be figs, other kinds of nuts. There's like cashews and things like that. And normally I would have some more of those type of things, but when you buy a lot of the stuff, it costs a lot of money just if you're getting it all at once. So it can be kind of pricey unless you can find like a good sale. But yeah, so all right. Starting with the oatmeal, 2.5 cups of oatmeal into our nice big mixing bowl here. Kind of rough measurement, don't gotta be perfect. Brown sugar, baby. So it's 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. You can be a heaping scoop. Live your life. And then the recipe I got this from does not have cinnamon in it, but I like cinnamon. So look it up. And then also, this recipe does not have salt in it, but I always add a little bit of salt for that like balance of flavors. I don't measure the salt, I just eyeball it. Looks good to me. And then I'm gonna add my oil. So the oil could be any oil pretty much you have in the house. So the oil is gonna go in first because then we're gonna add honey, and that allows for the honey to not stick inside. It's gonna be like 1/3 of a cup of honey, so I'm just gonna keep letting that pour until I get there. And then we're gonna add a teaspoon of vanilla. You know, you want the real shit if you can get it, but if not, it's fine. I think this is about empty, so I'm just gonna use the rest of that, cause yeah. So now we're gonna go about adding the extras. So I only got a little bit of raisins left, so I'm just gonna dump those in there, whatever's left. And then pumpkin seeds, about 1/4 cup. And since I'm adding so much, you really don't want to do more than 1/4 cup at first. Because you'll have to like compensate for the additional ingredients in your other items that you added, like the wet. And some of these items are raw and some of these items are salted. It's really about whatever you choose. I'm actually a really big sweater, so because I'm going to be making these for bike rides and on the bike, I do like to have sodium in the foods that I'm eating, so that I'm getting it in other ways. And then we are going to mix. So we're going to begin mixing the dry ingredients a little bit, so that when I add the wet, it'll be pretty easy. Yeah. And I always wear gloves when I make these, just because it's easier. And now we're going to add the wet. And we begin stirring this around. And if you feel like you're going to give it a really good stir, and I did add quite a few dry ingredients, so that could impact how well this adheres. So if you're stirring after a while and it doesn't really seem that the honey and the oil doesn't really seem to be sticking to all your ingredients like you would hope, just add a little more honey. Yeah, so now we are going to add them to this handy dandy cupcake pan. This is a non-stick cupcake pan. You don't have to use this. You can use a brownie size pan, like the 8x8s, and then you want to use parchment paper to coat the bottom of the 8x8 pan. However, I don't have an 8x8 pan, so you do what you can. And also, I've done this before. I didn't have parchment paper, but I did use a cupcake pan, and I did freeze it really well with butter. But I found that it was still sticking to the bottom. So this time, I'm gonna try with butter coated paper, parchment paper, in the cupcake holder here. So I'm gonna stuff that in there, and then I'm gonna do a scoop of the granola and another scoop. And really, you're just gonna pack this in there. And this is where the gloves come in handy. And then of course you can use the spoon too. But you're gonna just smash this in there, but you want to get it nice and tight. So, all done. The granola has been mashed down into the pan, and then the wax paper kind of folded over. No biggie. But also note, if you are using a 8x8 cookie sheet or whatever, you will have to mash it down, still get as flat as possible, pack it down, and then put it in the oven, 325. I'll bake it for about 30 minutes or so, and I'll like check on it because I have a gas stove, so if you have electric, you'll have to compensate for those differences. And if you're cooking in a whole pan versus a cupcake pan, it'll cook a little differently. So something to keep in mind. Now we wait. All right, so pulled all of the granola bars out of the pan. They're actually still a little bit warm. I did have them in the oven for about 35 minutes. And then I took them out, let them set. They were probably resting for at least an hour and a half. But if you want them to get harder, you definitely should just take them out once they've rested for at least an hour and a half. Then put them in the refrigerator. So then when you go on a bike ride, you might want to put this in a baggie actually. Because of the oils and the sugars, you don't want to get too sticky. But they're pretty easy to open and eat. Now mind you, this is still soft a little bit from the oven, but looks pretty yummy and ready to eat. And I'll eat one just for fun and because I'm hungry.